You remember this, we talked about this last time round, and somebody, I don't know who it was, but somebody said, oh yes, you know, we had the edges on it, and what about tiling? Now, when I've seen this style of roof on buildings, it's usually been some form of patterned copper or something of that nature, or you know, because obviously tiles can't bend to the shape of the roof. So what I'm going to look at now, and part of this is me thinking aloud as well, so it's not a polished presentation, it's how I've looked at it and sharing some thoughts with you that may help. This is what I'm going to look at, is producing something like this. I'll swivel it round because the light catches it and you can't quite see. But you can see there we've got tiles on there, overlapping tiles which follow the curve of the roof. And my little block is the double curve like we've got on the roof. I haven't tidied up the ends here from the point of view of a slight overlap, and I haven't cut back on here yet. It's me really to show you the way that I solved this problem that we had. So let's, and I'm going to assume with this one, I'm not going to go into the basic drawing as it were. I'm assuming you can all draw curves and shapes and so forth. So it's more about how I arrived at this sort of approach. So what I first of all done, I've got my curve and then I've done a pattern. I will come back to the pattern a little later on. So that's the pattern I got. And we've done on the excuse me, we've done on the emboss command how we can emboss it. So you think that's fairly straightforward. So we'll highlight the pattern, we'll hit the emboss button, we select the face, which is that one there, and we click OK, and it's not what we expected. So let's go back and have a look at what's going on here. Now, okay, so we click on it again, we do emboss, we click the face. So let's have a play about with the distance, if you like. And you can see it's not, the bottom row's fine, but the other rows are hopeless. And the reason for that is, let's put the sketch back on. Let me get that body out the way a moment. Is when I highlight it, it highlights everything, look, including the gaps in between. So of course, what's happening when we're projecting that onto the curved surface or any surface, it's seeing this as one block, if you like, because we haven't got the only time we've seen the separate ones were down the bottom, because it's seeing all that as one. So I thought, right, we've got to get round this somehow. So let's put the body back on again and go back to where we were. That's it. So the way around this really is a little bit laborious, but quite simple. And holding the shift key down, select all the tiles on the bottom row. And then we can go emboss, select the face and put them on. Lovely. Now we can go and do the next row. And emboss, select the face and put them on. Let's take the sketch out the way. It's not what we want, is it? It's if we flick back to the original version, which is like that. So it's still not doing what we want it to do. So let's backtrack again. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to select the bottom row again. And we're going to be embossing. And we're going to select. And we're going to select the face. And we're going to do it to a depth. Now the depth you do it will vary. I'm going to do 0.2 so we're seeing it. and you'll see, I'll come back to the depth in a moment. So I'm going to do 0.25. Okay, let's put the sketch back on. Then I'm going to take the next layer and I'm going to emboss that on the curve again. And this time I'm going to change 0.25 to 0.5. Then we'll take the next layer. I told you it was time consuming, but I think the results are worth it. Emboss, select, face, and needless to say, I'm now going 0.75. Let's switch off the sketch. I won't go all the way up. We'll be here forever. But can you see what's happening? Whoops. The layers are increasing, so we're getting that overlap effect on it. And as we continue up, we'll end up with what we've got there. Now, the amount of overlap really depends on your printer and the gauge you're doing. Now, on 00 gauge, 0.1, 0.15 will look tidy. Anything above that will look a bit silly. So it depends on the gauge and the printer, because obviously you want minimum there, but you want to be able to see the overlap in real life. And then you just carry on up with all of them. Now, if I just go onto the top layer a moment to show you something else, I'm going to jump a couple of layers now and just put this one on. Emboss, face, oops, sorry, face, and that one's on, and I'm just going to leave it at 0.75 for the moment. And then the next one, to show you what happens when the curve starts getting a bit tighter, and I'll make it 1.25 so you can see the difference. Now it's come down, it's not come down enough, but what you can do at this stage before you click OK, you are able to move it. So you can get a decent overlap, because if I had one at the very top, it wouldn't match up, and sometimes it doesn't match up because of the curve. So you can move it, and you can also move it that way. Unfortunately, when you do move it, it blanks out, so you can't see yourself dragging it, as it were. Okay, so having done that bit, let's have a look at our pattern, because our pattern was one that threw me at first. So if I go into the pattern, now I made them 10 by 5, 10 millimeters by 5. So we had, I made it 10 millimeters by 6 millimeters. So that was my basic tile. I then put a curve on the end, like so. As I say, I like the scissors command, and that was it. Turn the scissors, chop that off, that, and the center bit. And I thought, great, that's my basic tile. So I then went into move and copy. I thought, right, I need to move one now up. Whoops. We always forget that, don't we, to do a copy there. Move and copy. Copy. And I'm doing this, as I say, normally quite rough, so you can actually take your measurements. And we're going to move it to the halfway line. And I thought, that's fine. I can now highlight that lot, go into create, do a rectangular pattern, and bring them out there. Create a little bit of a gap there, and also take them up that way as well. In that way. Click OK. Now you can see the problem I had now, because you've got to go around now and delete all these bits you don't want. And that starts to get a bit awkward. because you lose track of where you are, the spacing goes all over the place and everything else. So what we do instead, let me go back to the original pattern, which is on that one, isn't it? Switch off the body, switch on the sketch, that one there, and we'll go into sketch mode. So what I've done this one, that is my pattern there. I drew that. So what you have to do is work out what width you want them and the gap between them. Now I done a 0.5 gap because I know 0.5 on my resin printer starts to look quite nice, and actually I can do them on the filament as well. So that's my basic tile shape. And then I copy that one across and up. So the ideal way is to copy it from there up to that one first. So you then got those two. You can then go in and use your rectangular pattern to spin them as wide as you want and as high as you like. And if it's 6 millimeters, which is what I've got, then the spacing becomes 6.5 millimeters to allow for the gap in here. And you've got to work out the spacing the other way, because what you want, obviously, you want this one up here when it's in place to be matching up with the curve in that one. So there's the curve in that one, and that's the curve in that one. So the distance that I calculated, I think was something, I think it was 14 millimeters. No, sorry, 7 millimeters. And that way you get individual ones all nicely patterned out. And then you just go ahead, and as I say, you do a row at a time. Now what I haven't done is I haven't put the bottom row on yet, because you've got some tidying up to do. So the idea is to get your template longer than what you want, or match them up. Now you could match these up quite easily. So what we could do with this one is, let me zoom back a bit. If we highlight that one and we do a modify and we do a copy, move copy, and we do a copy command that way. Now I'm doing this rough. I know you can do point to point. And the join goes away.